Good afternoon. I'm the host, Michelle Padilla, and this is the Awareness Hour, and it's 5 o'clock. I have a very special guest, George. I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing your last name. Can you, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name?
Yeah, now I'm getting it wrong. Chakiris. Yeah.
See, that's where I'm having my problems. It's my C's, S's, and K's right now. So,
If
um,
you get my name wrong, it's perfectly okay. I don't mind.
so we're waiting on my friend, my co-host Jackie. It's fine. I just got done with another meeting, so I told her, "Hey, hop on in when you can." So the awareness show is about different causes and different events. I don't know if you ever heard about the awareness show. Um, we started doing podcasting about 9 years ago. And so the reason why we started it is because I got diagnosed with a chromosome 22q, which is a tiny piece of a chromosome that's like it's the second most common to Down syndrome.
Wow.
So yeah, so you have over 200 symptoms, and a lot of people are not aware of it. So we want to make it, known and well known, and make everybody, if that makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the most common issues like teeth issues, congenital heart problems, cleft palate problems, learning disability, intellectual disability. And, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So
Wow. That's a
yeah,
list. Yeah.
it is a list. So, we're trying to make it more known to people who want to know more about 22Q. They could go to the website and get more information. There's other names to it, but we're sticking to 22Q11. And so we started doing the podcast so we could get more people involved and have a lot of fun doing it, if that makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense. How is it going?
Well, we've been doing it for 9 years, which is really cool. Harlan has been amazingly awesome. He's been getting me a lot of gifts, including you. So a shout out to Harlan. So I started out at a radio station called KDHR, and I broke away 2 years ago. So I'm now doing my own podcasting, and so we've been doing a lot with the podcasting. So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Great. Great. Yeah.
And so let's talk about you. How did you get into West Side Story?
Let's see. Well, I've been working as a as a dancer in Hollywood movie musicals, and from 1952 or something like that to up to probably 1956, something like that. And I'd also done some work in Vegas as a chorus dancer. But then about 1957, work for dancers in Los Angeles was there wasn't much work, so I bought a one-way ticket to New York, my first time in New York. Some friends of mine put me up at the counter in their living room, and they knew everything that was going on in New York. And one of the things that was going on, they were auditioning people for a London company of West Side Story. So I got to audition for Jerome Robbins. I auditioned first for the role of Bernardo, and then he asked me to read for the role of Riff. And then eventually he cast me as Riff in the London company of West Side Story, which I did for a year and a half. Loved every second of it. It was my first time outside of the country, and I really loved England. I loved London so much. Felt like home. And then after a year and a half or so, word started coming out about a movie was going to be made, and we were hearing things like names like Elizabeth Taylor and Elvis Presley. So none of us ever dreamed of anything could happen for us, But long story short, some of us were tested for the film. I was tested. I did a test as Riff, test as Bernardo, and then they flew me to Los Angeles to do more of a test as Bernardo. And Jerry Robbins directed that test, and I did it with a lovely girl, Barbara Luna, who I thought was a very hot contender for the role of Bonita. So I left the London company just for a week to fly home, got to see my family. I hadn't seen them for a year and a half. Did the test and then flew back on Sunday to go back into the show. And I loved all that back and forth. I always loved getting back to the theater. It was something so wonderful about the theater. And then again, weeks started to go by, and finally, on my birthday, September 16th, 1958, 58? Yeah, I think so. I got a call from Ruth Mitchell, who was the stage manager for West Side Story, who told me that I was being cast as Riff in the London company. And that same day, I got 7 checks from my California unemployment. So it was a great day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then later it became a movie, and you were working with Natalie Wood. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Natalie was, of course, cast. Thank God she was cast as Maria. She's so beautiful, so wonderful, so perfect. She's wonderful in anything she does, but I think she's just extraordinary and sublime, and just there's nobody better for Maria than Natalie. Just no one. And so I got to meet Natalie, got to know her a little bit, of course. Really, really liked her. She was all of 23, so she was a pretty young woman, and already a bona fide major movie star. She didn't act like one, but she was very gregarious, fun to talk to, fun to be around, and and very concentrated on the work. So I was really glad to be able to meet her. I guess we all were, and she was tremendously well liked altogether by everyone. I know Jerry Robbins actually was thrilled by her, and she was, I think, equally thrilled by Jerry. She respected him so much, and he, there's a lovely scene. It's just Natalie. She's on the rooftop by herself, waiting, for till the rumble is over, somebody can bring her some good news of some kind. And that number is just Natalie, and Jerry staged the most beautiful sequence of just Natalie on the roof, thinking and feeling and being alone and waiting for everything being lovely and positive. And that sequence with Natalie, I've always thought is so beautiful and so beautifully staged by Jerry. Very simple, but very clear, very clean, because you can see how she's feeling, and that's what makes it so beautiful.
And nowadays, people don't know who you are or who Natalie Wood is or who West Side Story is. And, this is what the award show is about. We talk about, like the good old days, like West Side Story. We talk about, Broadway and theater. But right now, with COVID being hit, a lot of people are not going to go to the theater as much. But I found that you can watch West Side Story now on Hulu. So people can now watch it on Hulu. So
Wow.
yes, I found that out the other
I know
night.
I did.
I don't watch anything on Hulu. I don't even know how to do it. But yes, it's a different ballgame. I mean, I guess in order to bring anything, if you want to bring something to a different audience, a younger audience, so then you have to bring it to them on today's technology, because that's how everybody connects. Yeah.
My lovely co-host Jackie just showed up, so you get to
Hi,
get ready for
George.
Hey.
It's so great to be here with
Hi.
you. Thank
Hey,
you so
good.
much.
Yeah, thank you, honey. I can see you now too.
Thankfully.
How long have you been doing acting and Broadway, and why did you want to get into it?
I'm so sorry. Tell me that again.
Why did you want to get into acting, and why did you want to get into Broadway?
Well, actually, I never got to Broadway, but as a kid, I didn't know about theater. Theater didn't exist where I lived. I lived in Tucson, Arizona, outside the city. But of course, movies. Everybody saw movies, and I fell in love with movies, especially movie musicals. I think more than anything, because I love to watch a beautiful woman dancing with Fred Astaire or someone, and that beautiful shiny floor that you could see the reflection in. And I mean, it was. So I fell in love with that and was introduced to the idea of going in that direction, although I didn't know what it was, based on just my own feeling, of course, and that's where my heart took me. But my strongest influence as a kid was movie musicals. Yeah.
You see, it's funny because I was born in Tucson, Arizona.
Into what? Sorry.
I was born in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh my God, that's where I live. I was born in Ohio, and we left when I was 3, and we went to Tucson. My father always wanted to live in a warmer climate, so we went to Tucson. I loved it. I love that desert
Well,
air.
I moved out here after 2 months because of my medical history, and my dad was stationed at the Air Force Base out there, Davis Moss Air Force
Uh-huh.
Base.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a small little world. So
It is.
I love musicals. I love West Side Story. Um, you know, a lot of people don't like musicals for some reason. I don't know if it's their preference or it's just they don't like it. Today we're living in a society that things are changing rapidly because of pop culture. They don't like
Yeah.
certain things. I don't know if you've heard the latest about Greece, how it's racist and all that stuff. It's just shame because this is what our generation got like. We like musicals, and we didn't have anything like that growing up. Now we have to worry what you're gonna say and what you do, and I think we need to protect musicals like West Side Story and other musicals. That way they don't get the cancellation of pop culture, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make I guess I'm not surprised that young people today are not quote unquote eager to see musicals because there's not much for them to see.
Right.
I guess in Hamilton, I guess, is the big musical that everybody's seen. I have not seen it, but obviously it's tremendous. And but it's because it's theater, and maybe young people don't have access to it in some way. But so movie musicals are rare in the sense that there are very few. I don't even know. Well, Stephen, sure. There, not Stephen Sondheim, but Steven Spielberg, of course, has done his version of West Side Story, a film, which is coming out December of next year. So maybe that will remind people and younger people that here's one that they can perhaps see in its current, but people can't know that these are things are there if unless they are there.
Right.
Yeah. So it's up to, and I think I don't know the reasons for few musicals being made. Maybe they're more expensive to make, or maybe it takes a different kind of imagination to pull it all together, or maybe all of the above. But yeah, they're too rare. They're very rare, and I miss it myself. And also, because of my background, I tend to love the musicals that I grew up with that were really musicals and they were beautiful to watch. And beautiful dancers, beautiful singers, beautiful costumes, beautiful scenery, a beautiful world to escape into. And I absolutely love that. And I think it's really important that we can escape into another world now and again if we want to, so that our imagination can just remain alive and it nourishes us in a way too.
George, I was wondering, what were some of your favorite musicals growing up?
Well, gosh, uh, let's see. Okay, I remember as a kid, I loved. You're not going to. I hope you may not know who I'm talking about because you're too young. But Carmen Miranda, Betty
Yeah.
Grable, and of course eventually Marilyn Monroe. But but Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, they did a series of black and white movies at RKO, and then they hadn't done anything together for some time, and they finally, in I think maybe in the early '40s or something like that, they did a color film music called The Barclays of Broadway, and it brought Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers back to the screen. And I couldn't wait to see that, and I did get to see it, and I loved every second of it because it was that old formula. Meant just it was so beautiful to see. I'm not lost track of mine. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. You're bringing up some good ones for me too. I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's right. I love like Tony Curtis, and I mean, watching Marilyn Monroe and stuff like that too. And
Yeah.
I really enjoy those. And it really is a shame that we don't have anything like that currently anymore. You know, it's kind of like it's just been a whole wave of a change in what we see anymore.
Yeah, well, some while ago, I don't know where I saw it. Do you remember Rita Hayworth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was a musical that she made at Columbia, one of those beautiful musicals where it worked. And I remember when I looked at it, I thought, girls don't get to look like that anymore.
No.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
and she's so beautiful, but no, girls, style is different. The way we feel about style and the way some
Expression altogether.
yeah,
is
there you are.
completely
Thank you.
different.
You
A lot
understand
of
it
people.
perfectly. Yeah.
Another one. A lot of people misjudge is Lucille Ball. She
Yes.
would, do some musicals. I know she did a couple of musicals. She could sing, she could dance, and she did comedies. And she was amazing. A lot of people don't realize what Lucille Ball did for women, and she is just an amazing person. Like Fitzgerald, Marilyn Monroe, we got that one. Elizabeth Taylor is another one.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many, good people out there that nowadays young kids and teenagers don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't want to know who they are. I just want to play video games or,
Yeah.
something.
Well, we can't blame younger people for not knowing the past necessarily,
Right.
because we're all involved in what's going on with us now, and then there's so much technology and social media. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to distract us and draw our attention. But it's a shame in a way because I think it would be, as much as it's possible, I think it's good for young people to learn about the past, no matter what it is, but in entertainment, because there is so much. You have so much talent in today's world, but it's also nice to recognize the talent that went before because we can learn from that as well. There's I've just been watching. Do you know who Judy Garland is?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, just watch Judy Garland and learn something. Just watch.
I was recently watching something, and I forget who it is, but it was a famous scene of these two tap dancers who did this phenomenal scene, right?
Oh.
And it was not acted out at all. They did it on the spot, and they did those jumps, and then each time they jumped, they landed a split, right?
The Nicholas Brothers, right?
Yes.
Who was that?
Yes.
The Nicholas Brothers.
Is that who?
I think that's who it is. Yeah.
So just recently, I was watching another performance of Today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they paid homage to that.
Okay.
And I thought it was amazing because I know that a lot of people would not know where that came from.
You're
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remembered how, also to take into consideration, our education system has changed so much where the arts was the first thing a lot of places attacked and took away,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also played a part why a lot of people just don't really know anymore. These are important things that have contributed to acts of today.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that I guess in our political systems that the arts don't get the attention that they should have.
I know,
yeah.
Especially when we all enjoy them so much. It just,
when you saw that the Nicholas Brothers did that, and they showed us that did they tell you who they were and
Well, when I watched it for the first time, it was like the whole scene of it. And it was
yeah,
kind of something more of like just an appreciation video of like, look
yeah,
how amazing this was. This
yeah,
is back
yeah,
then, right?
yeah,
So that's the only reason why I even knew about it.
yeah.
So when I saw this more recent performance, I was just able to put the two together.
Hmm.
And later on,
Okay.
I found out, I
Yeah.
was reading an article where they were talking about the dancers and what they were doing. And so that was just another way I was able to put it together and be like, oh, okay, so I was right. They really were,
Uh-huh.
taking from this and applying
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
how
Well,
beautiful is that?
well, in the dance world, generally speaking, because the Nicholas brothers were, I guess, in the 30s into the 40s, somewhere in there, but
Mm,
they're so famous. Everybody knows these two guys because they were so incredible as well. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know those moves.
And then not to mention you got Bob Hope, and then you got
Ooh,
what's it,
that's
Bing
another one right
Crosby, White Christmas. We have all these talented performers performers that people don't realize who they are and what they represent. And we have West Side Story, who is I believe is turning 50 years old this year.
there. Yeah,
Is it 50 years old?
60.
So 60. Well, see, there you go. And when I was telling my mom about West Side Story, she goes, "Oh wow, that's so cool!" Because I watched it when she watched it when she was a kid, and now she's 66 years old. So
Okay. Ah. Yeah.
times are like changing, but it's exciting to see, and they're like, oh wow, and I just wish like today we have a better understanding about pop culture, why it was there in the first place, and how we can reserve and keep it, not keep canceling pop culture, if that makes sense.
Well, are you familiar with Turner Classic Movies? Turner
Oh,
Classic
yes.
Movies.
Yes,
Well, I
yes.
mean, isn't that a great channel? I mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
brings so much to us that we don't get to see otherwise. But it's one channel, and but at least they're keeping us going in that department, aren't they? Uh,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
I,
I
and
enjoy that so much. I
yeah.
do.
But even you're so interested. You're aware of things that have gone before your time and all that, and that's so beautiful. And are you a dancer? I'm sorry.
Who, me?
Me.
Yes. Uh huh.
Mhm. Oh, the only reason I'm so in touch with it is thankfully I give that to my grandpa and my mom. Honestly, I used to spend countless amounts of hours in front of the TV with my grandpa watching these stations.
Okay.
And we went through all of that. And my mom's name, her first name is Maria. So
Uh
that was
huh.
a thing for her. West
Okay.
Side Story, her friends used to, it
Yeah.
was a thing between them. So that's just kind of how I've been able to keep up with it. And I
Yeah.
mean, I enjoy the art so much.
Good
And
for you.
I take part in, whatever I can to just stay in the loop.
Well, I'll tell you what, the beauty, because a young person like you who is seriously interested in the arts, the great thing about that is you have contemporary friends who you can influence if you want, and teach them to appreciate things as well. So you can pass it on in a way that somebody older than you might have tricky. But you're of an age because it's contemporary. It's now with you, and so
I
you're
play with my brother and
knowledgeable.
my sister all the time. I'm like, you guys need to absorb this and know where things are coming from, know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
history. I think
yeah,
it's important. I do.
yeah.
They call me an
Well,
old soul. And I'm just like, oh.
well. Listen,
I
that's
know
a
some good stuff. That's all.
well. I'll bet you talk about watching television and with your grandparents and so on. Wasn't that a great time? Didn't you love it?
I did.
Mm.
I did. If I could go back, I
Yeah,
definitely would. Because, I mean,
yeah,
times were so different. TV
yeah,
was different.
We
yeah,
were
You
we were
know,
sheltered as a kids, and now as adults we see what's happening. Our parents sheltered us as much as they could to protect us, And now we're seeing, oh, this is what's going on. This is not the
Mm.
world we grew up in. It's
Yeah,
totally different.
yeah,
I give that to
Totally
the internet.
changed.
yeah.
Yeah.
What you know? What I guess it's been a while. Remember when MTV first started, and it was used as a way to promote records,
Yeah.
and so the way they did it, everything was really quick cuts, and it almost had nothing to do with the song that and the artist was singing, but that style of MTV editing and move, it sort of became pervasive. Everybody started doing it, and that one of the things that I'm less enamored of myself today, just in not just in musical things, but in a drama, in film, is to me the editing is too quick. They don't let us stay with a performer as long as I'd like to, although it's a different way of storytelling, and I do understand that, and sometimes a much better way. But I love it if we can. I think now everything moves so quickly, and if it doesn't, and if people are afraid of being boring if they're not moving, too quickly and quickly enough, and so moving quickly for the sake of moving quickly, sometimes you lose your storytelling in the process.
I
But I
completely
think
agree.
I think people are afraid to take the time. You know, I think it's important to take the time.
That's definitely changed. You hit that right on. I mean, stories nowadays, they don't build up the same way that they used to. You don't spend as much time building a relationship with these characters to really know what's going on.
That's
The
right.
And
emotion
it's
is
sad,
different.
Yeah,
and it's
Mhm.
too sad.
Yeah.
And the world has changed rapidly, and
yeah, yeah,
it's we had a good time growing up in the 80s, the 60s, and the 70s. You know, we had the MTV when we first came out. We've had Smurfs. We've had, all these different, like Back to the Future movie. We had Jaws. And now they want to put in a censor label on it because it promotes violence or it promotes, a drama or something. And it's not the same as it was before,
yeah,
without the censors.
yeah,
Even the Muppets, the Muppet Show, they
yeah.
haven't. You will watch the Muppet Show now. They have a censor on it
Disney
because
movies, same
yeah,
thing.
same thing.
Disney movies.
Peter Pan, what was it? Aristocrats. They all have their
Three
censors now.
Caballeros. Isn't that the other
Yeah,
one? Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but what?
Yeah,
Oh, what's that other one? Gone with the Wind.
All the
yeah,
way there you go.
yeah. Wait,
That was
uh,
it.
yeah. Are you serious? Let's see. When I was a kid, I went to the movies every weekend. I mean, I couldn't wait for a weekend so I could see another movie, and I fell in love with the movies and the people in the movies and the whole thing. Do you feel that way with movies today and your generation? Do you look forward to seeing the movies that are out there?
Not as much.
Nowadays we just wait until it comes out on video or
Uh,
on, it's not the same
yeah, yeah,
with, you know, when Star Wars came out the first time or Return of the Jedi. Those were got good packed movies. Now you just wait until it comes out because it's getting too pricey. The movie tickets are too expensive to go to the movies. You
yeah,
know, it's like $30 to buy a ticket now or something.
Yeah, you gotta
And
make it like a real treat to go out there and an occasion, if anything.
yeah. Also, I think with the pandemic, because theaters and movie theaters are not open, so everybody's gotten accustomed to seeing things on really small screens, or a television screen, or iPhone, and so it's not a good habit to develop for entertainment because movies, all those things they're designed to be seen on a big screen, especially musicals, movement on an iPhone. You can see it, but you can't appreciate it. You need to see the scope and the size of it to really appreciate how people are moving. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So
So
again, just, and I think we've all, and maybe to me in some regard, I just realized I'm accustomed to looking at things, not entertainment, but to catching up on some visual things on my iPhone because it's easier, it's more convenient, so I can do it right now. But
yeah,
I think entertainment and especially musicals have to be seen, should be seen, ideally on the big screen. You know.
yeah.
That's how they're
They
designed.
are now bringing back drive-in movie theaters. And so now the younger generation can actually experience what we went through. And they're doing drive-in comedy movie theaters now. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to see the younger generation react to what we went through
Yeah,
as a child and as an adult. And I think they were kind of liking it more going to the, drive-in movie theater versus an actual theater because they can sit in their car, watch a movie, get the popcorn, watch the story, it's kind of cool, and they can
yeah,
see that. So,
yeah.
They do that with concerts.
Yes,
yeah,
That's the thing now that they're doing with concerts. Will it remain for the industry? I have no idea now that things are,
yeah.
picking back up. But it'd be great to
Well,
see some live acts.
yeah. I think we're not necessarily by choice, but we're getting accustomed to seeing entertainment on a smaller way. You know, whether it's on
mhm,
television screen at home, or and some people, of course, now have much bigger televisions, but still, it's still not a movie screen, and it's not the same experience. Going out and being in the audience of like-minded people to see a particular event is important because we're sharing it together. If you see it at home, it's great, it's convenient, but it's not the same. The experience kind of changes because we're not sharing it with other audience members. Yeah, and I think that's what the beauty of that's the beauty of theater, for example, is all those people, the audience, and also the people on stage, and there's a chemistry going on between the people on stage and the people in the house, and it's a very unique experience that can only happen that way. And one of the great things about being in the theater and acting or singing in the theater is to be doing it to a live audience because you're really are sharing it at that moment with that audience, and every audience is different from night to night. It's different, but the audience is that experience is, I think, is what makes most of us really want to be performers to begin with.
George, do you miss it?
Yeah, well, not the same way. Let's see, not in the same sort of dreamy way that when I was a kid, or even after I was a kid, and I got, um, uh, gosh, that's a good question. I, s- I'm, I suppose I don't. I don't know how to answer that question.
Uh,
I probably do. I think I probably do miss it, but I don't have I don't. I guess maybe it's a confidence in myself that I don't have anymore in terms of. But I don't think I'm good enough to do that anymore. I don't.
oh,
But or maybe I'm gotten lazy. I'm not sure. But now and again, it doesn't happen very often. But when I'm watching something that I really love and I appreciate what those actors and actresses and dancers are doing, I think to myself, wouldn't it be nice to be doing that again? So I guess I do miss it, and once in a while think, wouldn't it be nice to do it again? But everything is circumstance and what's available, what isn't available. Things change, and also I couldn't be just as a performer. I couldn't be. I would be. People have to look at me differently to cast me correctly. So the opportunities change, with time.
do you ever find yourself going about your business and then just kind of like breaking out into song?
Yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have a beautiful, beautiful dog. She's a greyhound. Her name is Nebula. She's just amazing. And when I do a lot of talking when I'm out with her. I just talking to myself, and I'm quite vocal, and I think I do all kinds. It happens to all of us in the course of just say walking your dog. So many things come to mind, and almost invariably something of show busy comes to mind too, and it reminds. I've been watching my friend Elaine Stritch on YouTube. Do you know who Elaine Stritch is?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, there's no need for you to know this. Elaine's, I did a Stephen Sondheim show called Company with Elaine in 1971, so it's been a while. And she did that show originally on Broadway. And if you ever have the time, look her up on YouTube. She's amazing. She's extraordinary. There was a Stephen Sondheim thing on YouTube. I think it was six women singers, Elaine Stritch being one of them. Bernadette Peters was one, and I think can't remember who the others were. So and it was a beautiful evening. They were all beautifully dressed. It was like a concert thing. They were sitting in chairs, and then they got up when it was their turn to sing. But if you want to check out any of that, again, it's a reminder of people who have been there and who are there right now as well, but who've been there for a while. So they're not kids. And they're experiencing really, really serious, beautiful artists. So even for you, you're going to love it if you watch it. I know you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I look that up.
Well, you guys, we have 8 minutes left, and
Oh.
I'm like you, George. I feel like I want to burst out into a song every now and then.
Yeah.
I feel like life is like a musical. I was watching Hairspray the other day,
Uh-huh.
so sometimes you just have to go out there and start singing. And I feel like sometimes the awareness show is like a musical. So if we had like certain song or something, and it would be kind of cool to do a musical. And I'm like you, I love musicals. I think my all-time favorite musical of all time is Annie.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
Annie.
Oh wow.
And I actually got to interview Peppa from the original Annie. She was on the show a long time ago. So my mom and dad and my uncle Richard introduced me to musicals. And so we saw Cats, we saw what is it? Wicked, you know, I'm not
Love
sure
it.
if we saw West Side Story. I have to ask my mom about that question. But Layla's Mirage, all these great shows, and it just opens up the mind, your mind, and you're like, I want, I love musicals, and and then when I watched Glee, Glee did an episode on West Side Story, so they did a part about the dancing and everything else.
Yeah.
And so they paid homage, and so it's kind of interesting. And so I'm hoping that we can share West Side Story to the listeners and make them understand to not like it, but understand musical and their history of musical, if that makes sense, George.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Yes, of course. Yeah. So yeah, yes, it does. If I understood you correctly, I think I did.
Yes.
And this thing of singing to yourself, bursting into song by yourself. One of the things I loved about when I was a kid about going to a movie musical is I always went by myself and then when it was over, I would walk all the way home and I would try to remember the songs in the movie that I just seen. All of that was so delicious, such a great time. Yeah. And we all, I think those things never change. We continue wanting to do things like that. But I love, you both seem really intent on, bringing the idea of musicals back to people and people, your audiences as well. And that's really, it's important that it's great that you do that because
I
you're
was
young.
in theater for a while too, so I was like, score.
George, our listeners want to know if you have a social media page or where can they reach you and watch more of your West Side Story
Your
and
music too, your albums.
yes,
I'm sorry. Did you ask me about social media? I missed that.
Jackie, want
Where
to?
can people find you, George?
Oh, well, I'll tell. I don't. I'm not good at social media. I think I'm lazy. I'm on. I have a Facebook page, but I almost never use it.
Oh,
I'm not in the habit, so I keep forgetting. So, but I guess someone could post something on Facebook, or maybe I should try to do the same. But the only way that someone can actually have direct access to me would be through my website or my email, and I don't mind that at all. But that's the only way that I'm really lousy at social media. I'm
it's
terrible.
okay. Well, we just want to let everybody know that they can watch West Side Story right now on Hulu. You mentioned Hamilton earlier.
Yeah.
You can
And also,
find it on Disney if you want to watch it. Just let me know.
Right now, West Side Story. They're celebrating 60 years anniversary.
oh boy.
And,
congratulations. This has
and
been
look
so
out
awesome.
for Spielberg's movie in December. His creation, his version of West Side Story. So hopefully we can find a trailer. Jackie, can we find a trailer of that and maybe post it on the Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, I will work on that and see what I can find.
Yes. And we want to give a shout out to Harlan. Thank you, Harlan. He is amazing. And
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
yes.
Yeah, he is.
So we have another guest coming on tomorrow. Michael, help me out with the last name, Jackie.
I forget his last name, but he's associated with the Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that.
Okay.
So we will post that.
I'm sorry. When you say associated with the Wizard of Oz, do you mean associated with the movie of the Wizard of Oz? How do you mean that?
Michelle?
He a book. He wrote a book of the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
You know, the sound is breaking up just a little bit, so I'm not hearing every word you say. Sorry.
No problem.
That's okay. Well, looks like our time is up. George, thank you so much. We would love to have you back on the show again.
Thank you.
I will send this link over to Harlan once I edit and give it to Jackie, and she could do her magic. Does that sound good?
What was that? I'm sorry.
It's really nice to meet both of you. It's so great to connect with younger people. Honestly, because you're the future. You're now and the future.
Wow, thanks. Thank you so much. It's been so great talking to you. I love it. This was great.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
Before we go,
hope to see you again soon. And you can find us on Instagram at _awareness show. We're on Facebook. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Podomatic, YouTube. Wow. So you can see our pretty faces with George right here live.
Smile for the camera.
Smile for the camera.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you for what you're doing. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. I'm going to edit this and I'll send it to you, Jackie. And I hope you have a happy Easter. And it's Passover.
Oh, yes. Happy Easter. Absolutely.
Yes. Happy Easter, George.
Yes. Thank you, honey. Thank you, both of you. I wish I could be in the same room with you sometime. Well, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll work that out. All right. Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.